Hello, welcome back. We've been reading The Iron Man by Ted Hughes. We left off where Hogarth found the Iron Man and decided to trap him himself, but was terrified he'd made the wrong decision. Hogarth stared at the Iron Man looming, searching towards him for the taste of the metal that had made that inviting sound. Clink, clink, clink went the nail on the knife, and crash! The Iron Man vanished. He was in the pit. The Iron Man had fallen into the pit. Hogarth went close. The earth was shaking as the Iron Man struggled underground. Hogarth peered over the torn edge of the great pit. Far below, two deep red headlamps glared up at him from the pitch blackness. He could hear the Iron Man's insides grinding down there, and it sounded like a big lorry grinding its gears on a steep hill. Hogarth set off. He ran home with the great news. And as he passed the cottages on the way, and as he turned down the lane towards his father's farm, he was shouting, "The Iron Man's in the trap, and we've caught the Iron Giant!" When the farmers saw the Iron Man wallowing in their great pit, they sent up a great cheer. He glared up towards them. His eyes burned from red to purple, from purple to white, from white to fiery whirling black and red, and the cogs inside him ground and screeched, but he could not climb out of the steep-sided pit. Then, under the lights of car headlamps, the farmers brought bulldozers and earth pushers, and they began to push it on top of the struggling Iron Man, all the earth that they had dug when they first made the pit, and that had been piled off to one side. The Iron Man roared again as the earth began to fall on him. But soon he roared no more. Soon the pit was full of earth. Soon the Iron Man was buried, silent, packed down under all the soil, while the farmers piled the earth over him in a mound and in a hill. They went to and fro over the mound on their new tractors, which they'd bought since the Iron Man ate their old ones, and they packed the earth down hard. Then they all went home talking cheerfully. They were sure they had seen the last of the Iron Man. Only Hogarth felt suddenly sorry. He felt guilty. It was he, after all, who had lured the Iron Man into the pit. So the spring came round the following year. Leaves unfurled from buds, daffodils spread up from the soil, and everywhere the grass shook new green points. The round hill over the Iron Man was covered with new grass. Before the end of summer, sheep were grazing on the fine grass on the lovely hillock. People who'd never heard of the Iron Man saw the green hill as they drove past on their way to the sea, and they said, "Oh, what a lovely hill! What a perfect place for a picnic!" So people began to picnic on top of the hill. Soon quite a path was worn up there by people climbing to eat their sandwiches and take snaps of each other. One day, a father, a mother, a little boy and a little girl stopped their car and climbed the hill for a picnic. They'd never heard of the Iron Man, and they thought the hill had been there forever. They spread a tablecloth on the grass. They set down their plate of sandwiches, a big pie, a roasted chicken, a bottle of milk, a bowl of tomatoes, a bag full of boiled eggs, a dish of butter and a loaf of bread with cheese and salt and cups. The father got his stove going to boil some water for tea, and they all lay back on rugs, munching food and waiting for the kettle to boil under the blue sky. Suddenly the father said, "That's funny." "What is?" asked the mother. "I felt the ground shake," the father said. "Here, right beneath us." "Probably an earthquake in Japan," said the mother. "An earthquake in Japan?" cried the little boy. "How could that be?" So the father began to explain how an earthquake in a far distant country that shakes down buildings and empties lakes sends a jolt right around the earth. People far away in other countries feel it as nothing more than a slight trembling of the ground. An earthquake that knocks a city flat in South America might do no more than shake a picture off a wall in Poland. But as the father was talking, the mother gave a little gasp, then a yelp. "The chicken!" she cried. "The cheese, the tomatoes!" Everybody sat up. The tablecloth was sagging in the middle. As they watched, the sag got deeper and all the food fell into it, dragging the tablecloth right down into the ground. The ground underneath was splitting, and the tablecloth, as they watched, slowly folded and disappeared into the crack, and they were left staring at a jagged crack in the ground. The crack grew. It widened. It lengthened. It ran between them. The mother and the girl were on one side, and the father and the boy were on the other side. The little stove toppled into the growling crack with a clatter, and the kettle disappeared. They could not believe their eyes. They stared at the widening crack. Then, as they watched, an enormous iron hand came up through the crack, groping round in the air, feeling over the grass on the other side of the crack. It nearly touched the little boy, and he rolled over backwards. The mother screamed. "Run to the car!" shouted the father. Is this the return of the Iron Man? We'll find out next time. Until then, goodbye.